Welcome to the Recycle Podcast, where we discuss everyday issues from a mental health perspective. We are your hosts,
Dr. LaFonya Jones,
Dr. Rashonda Strickland,
and Dr. Nichelle Wall. Now, don't get it twisted. We're not going to be your stereotypical therapist.
What we will be is down to earth, informative, a little spicy, and vulnerable.
All right, interns, turn up the volume, grab your pen and paper. It's supervision time. As a reminder, this podcast is not meant to take the place of a relationship with a licensed mental health professional.
Welcome back to session 15. Watch your mouth.
I absolutely enjoy that title.
You better watch your mouth.
Okay, interns, grab your pen and your paper. Today we're going to talk about the 3 styles of communication: assertive style, aggressive style, and passive style.
So I would say before we jump into the types and, kind of go detailing all of that.
Yeah.
What have you guys found to be the hardest type of communication to deal with, whether professionally or personally?
So before I answer your question, so for those of you out there as therapists, typically the style that we definitely teach about more is assertive style, because that's the healthiest one. Before we get into that, it's the healthiest one. And now we may dabble into the style that the person is actually currently operating in, but we don't kind of go into like depth with that one. And so as I was doing my research to prepare for this session, I was like, oh my God, I think I've done all of those throughout the years of my life. And I was like, oh my God, thank you for deliverance.
I think we all have. I think that's just, I think there's times where we're all toxic or dysfunctional, and communication is going to suffer because of that. To answer your question, Dr. Strickland, I think professionally and personally, the one that gets on my last nerve is a combination. It's passive aggressive. Because I'm like, if you don't say what you're trying to say to me and stop going around the bush, and then you trying to stab me in my side and be nice at the same time, I don't like that.
Just that nice, nasty.
I don't need all that. Thank you.
I would have to agree. Passive aggressive. I will stop talking to you because I just need you to tell me what you, even if it's gonna hurt my feelings, just tell me, because one of the styles that I have been delivered from is aggressive. And I was thinking about that this morning. I was like, I have been an aggressive communicator before in my life. And I can say I can toggle between the assertive and aggressive communication style now, even though I catch myself more now when I'm aggressive. But I noticed that when I have operated in the aggressive style, it's a lot of times when someone has confronted me about me offending them.
Okay. A protective measure.
Yes. And so I realize this is how I'm able to operate, get out of the aggression and operate in assertiveness, because I then begin to think I'm not angry because they told me, I'm embarrassed. And so I've had to identify the real emotion.
That's really good insight.
And interns, that is a great example of the difference between having a wall up and a boundary up, because that's a wall. If you got your boundary up, you're like, oh, she got me, but let me process these emotions and like respond in the correct way, because it's not the intent is not to harm, and the impact was not to harm in this situation.
Exactly. Yeah, I was like, oh, I gotta not do that. Got to make, especially because usually when it's someone you're close to, like if one of you were to come to me and say that, I've offended you, or, in some sort of way, that would hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
But that hurt back in the day would have came out.
What you trying to say?
Exactly.
What you mean?
That y'all just gonna be vulnerable. Like me and Dr. Jones, we done had some words with each other before. Not like crazy words, because I just don't have the energy half the time to do anything. But we have had words before. But because Dr. Strickland be like, y'all gonna get this together.
Yes.
Fix this. Y'all tripping. Because I'm passionate. She passionate, and we not saying the same thing, but saying the same thing.
Exactly. we had to learn each other's style.
It was only the first year.
Yes.
Calm down.
No, I'm talking about when you saying the same thing, but not saying the same thing.
Got you.
Yeah.
And it's
Got
like,
you.
wait, what? But you're both saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And she says that all the time.
Yeah, y'all saying the same thing. And then we'll just be like,
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. But we've gotten way better now. We've had,
for sure.
And the thing is, it took us having a conversation over the phone to talk about, okay, so when I'm doing that, tell me so that I can stop. And her doing the same thing.
Yeah, because I'm real go with the flow type of person. So I'd be like, it is what it is. I'd be okay. I'd be strong. And I'm like, but that don't really work when you in a business environment. You need to. It don't work in any environment, but especially when you're in a business environment. And for all of y'all don't know, I'm not on the same level with them as far as business. They're technically my bosses and the owners of Balance Beacon. So, I'm just like, well, just tell me what you want me to do. I don't care. Like, and that don't work because we have multiple relationships. It's friendship in there as well, and business partner, and then bosses too.
So
we love throwing the layers out there.
Yeah, it's
little complexity.
It's so complex. That's what I was going to say. It's so complex, but nevertheless, we have definitely worked on the way we communicate with one another,
and we've always been open to
Yes.
working, regardless of if there was an attitude or we was like, I don't want to talk right now. We've always talked, and so I can honestly say that is a blessing, because that's not normal in most situations.
Thank God we got therapeutic skills.
Girl, I was
You
just
ain't
gonna say,
never
I'm
lied.
glad we're all therapists.
I know.
Jesus. Could you imagine if we weren't?
But y'all know, even in that,
Yeah, sometimes it can be
True.
a little raunchy.
True.
But we also had a neutral party that was able to see both sides, but and call it out, be like,
I don't think she meant it the way that you're taking it, or that kind of thing.
yeah. So
Y'all welcome.
thank you. Appreciate you, doctor. How much did we owe you?
Oh,
you gonna get a strawberry cheesecake. That's what you getting.
you just owe me a lifetime of friendship. That's all.
Okay, I can do that.
I can do that.
Teardrop. So, but I do want to kind of, that was just my initial question.
What about yours?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we forgetting ourselves.
I
sometimes.
do. I think I tend to bounce between passive and aggressive. Not necessarily. I would not ever consider myself passive aggressive. I think I start off with very passive, and I just kind of let stuff go, and I let stuff go, and then I just immediately jump over into becoming aggressive.
Yeah, I think that's how I present myself. I start off extremely, because I'm go with the flow person, passive, and then all of a sudden I'd be like, I'm gonna kill you. And then I'm like, I got to kill you. That's not healthy. You gotta be like, you gotta work through that. And I think it's because I just have that chill vibe, and I'm like, everybody can't handle that side of me. Like, take care of that side of me the way it should be. But as far as like having to deal with, I have to say I can't stand passive aggressive people.
As far as dealing with, I can't stand dealing with passive people.
Okay.
It's something that really, it just gets into my soul, because it's such a slow process, and which is weird enough that I said my go-to is passive. Don't call me out on it though, because it's such a slow process, and I hate dragging things out of people. Like, it really, this is gonna sound real bad. Like, I can't stand when people talk really slowly, or like when they're really, I'm not, I'm dying on the inside. I'm like, can you just come on already?
If you don't come in here and own this space, come on.
Yeah. So I would say in my presentation of passive, it's not necessarily that I speak in a passive tone of voice or use passive words. It's more that I don't communicate what's going on internally and until it has built up and then it becomes like a pressure cooker, and then I just jump straight into aggressive. But it takes a lot for me to get there. And by the time I've gotten there, it's really hard to get me to come back.
You done blacked out.
And see, I think like when a situation is going on for me, like I know I can be aggressive, an aggressive communicator. So I typically use people to, like Dr. Strickland or Dr. Wall, and talk through it first. And then when I go and present my case or whatever I need to do, that's how I'm allowed to be assertive. You know, because obviously no one wants to be, well, for me, I don't want to be an aggressive communicator, because there are definitely is bullying, and I don't want to do that.
Right.
And so I have to, so that's, I have people in my circle who I know, regardless of how, because they let me say it how I need to say it. It don't matter how it sounds. It can, you know, they just let me get it out. So I have people around me that will allow me to do that without judging me, you know, and then they'll say, okay, you get it out.
Yeah.
So now let's talk reality.
Yeah, because you can't say that. That's not appropriate.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just had an incident like that. What was that? Friday? Yeah, Friday. Something was going on with my phone.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to take it to Verizon, and my significant other was like, I need you to make sure you stay calm when you go in there. And I said, well, you know, if I have an issue, I'm going to call you. He said, yeah, but if you can't reach me, I need you to call Dr. Strickland. Because she lives 10 minutes away from me, which is also 5 minutes away from the Verizon.
I said, I'll be up there.
And so I was like, but I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be calm. You know, so I have to go through that process so that I don't do that.
Yeah. I think it's much easier for me, and y'all tell me whether this is right or wrong. In a professional setting, I think I default to assertive in professional. But in my personal life, I think I default to not addressing an issue. And then again, like I said, once it's kind of layered up, then okay, so now I'm about to blow up on you.
I agree with that.
I would agree with the exception of when she's communicating with me. All of my friends, it seemed, and you know what? And I'm not a victim, but all of my friends who tend to be passive, because I do have other, you know, girlfriends that share that same personality. It seems like you all may be that way, except for when it comes to being with me. And I always ask that question, why are you passive with everybody else? But with me, you like cutthroat and just tell it.
It's because we just giving back the energy that you giving us. You know, we just want to match where you at.
Yeah, and that's what one of my girlfriends said. She said, because if I come tiptoeing around the tulip with you, you're not going to respect me.
Yeah.
And so I can't do you like that. And so I do agree with you, but except with me.
Gotcha.
I think we all can think of people that in an unhealthy way, not what you're describing, in an unhealthy way brings that out. And it'd be like, who you talking to?
Right.
And that's why y'all be looking at me crazy sometime when stuff come out. You're like, oh, something happened, because
that's not
Dr.
normal.
Wall.
Right.
She about to
Who was that?
Somebody.
Right. Like, wait a minute. Oh, come. If you upset, come. Let's talk.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about this.
Like, sit down on the couch.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that we've kind of gone through all of that, so I guess now for you guys, so you know what in the world we're even talking about, let's go ahead and go through and explain so that they're familiar what these different types are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go with the two negative ones first, or dysfunctional ones first, and then end with the
positive one.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to start?
We can.
Okay.
Well, let's just go and start with passive.
Okay. Since that one was already there.
Yeah, and the two that we're going to talk about, or main categories that we're going to talk about first, they're not healthy, guys. So don't try to be like, oh yeah, well this one sounds better. No, they're both wrong, and they're not good for you. So when you typically have passive communication, some of the main things that stand out is you tend to speak softly, as Dr. Strickland was explaining, allow others to take advantage, prioritize needs of others over your own, poor eye contact, looks down or away, does not express one's own needs or wants, and lacks confidence. We feel seen.
I know. I was like, ugh. Hearing that about yourself is like, you know, and I've said this before. I've not said it on the podcast, but people that know me like from a previous time in my life, that would be an exact description of who I was.
Yeah.
You know, that, you know, after a certain point in my life, I made some, you know, significant changes based off some things that kind of took place. But prior to that, you know, I would have been described as a very kind of mousy, shy, timid, you know, individual, like cry at the drop of a hat. Like even if I thought you were getting ready to, you know, yell at me,
high five across the room.
Like it would be like, you know, like, so it's really hard to think about who you were versus who you are and who you want to be, and how those three individuals can be so different yet so alike at the same time.
Yeah. And I honestly think, as also being someone who would tend to lean towards passive communication, that it's not to say that you need to completely change who you are, because I think there's some great meek qualities in there, but they can't be your defense tool when things don't feel great, that you automatically like shrink into yourself and be like, well, you know, it's whatever you want to do. And we're not talking about like when you honestly don't care, right? You know, but when it is like literally causing you internal pain, and instead of recognizing that, you're just saying, okay, I'm going to go ahead and go with whatever this person does or whatever this person needs. That's just not a healthy way to live your life.
Yeah.
No. Well, it makes you invisible.
Yeah.
You know, you become, versus being a driver in your own life, you become a passenger in your own life.
Which is not ever going to work. Yeah. And that's not to, one thing I do want to say is that not to say that the people who are taking advantage of you are all aware that they're doing that. Some people are really not trying to be mean or hurtful, but it's because of your stance in a lot of situations that it is going the way it is going.
Well, you know, that goes back to what we talked about in boundaries, that you know, teach people, you know, ways to treat you.
Yeah.
So if my default in a stressful situation or a high emotion situation is to back down and then allow the things around me to kind of flow as they will, then I'm teaching whomever is involved in that situation that, you know, basically I would just do whatever to keep the peace.
Yeah. Because you avoid confrontation. You don't. A lot of passive people, obviously, from what y'all just said too, is that they don't like confrontation. It makes them very uncomfortable, and like y'all said, they kind of just clam into themselves and just kind of become invisible. And it allows, especially when you have people around you that have strong personalities, it allows them to just kind of elevate, so to speak. You know, because their personality is so big and so dominant. You know. Well.
And I'm almost cringing at saying this because I don't know if the way it's about to come out of my mouth is how I truly mean it, but it allows you to play the victim as well.
You definitely can. But I think playing the victim can go either way. It can be on the passive side or the aggressive side.
Oh, for sure. Know? Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. But, you know, in the realm of passive, I think it allows you, because you don't have to take responsibility, because I've given that over to.
I just did what they wanted me to do.
Right.
You just took all of my words.
Right. So then when things don't go right, or I still feel underappreciated, or I still feel unheard or whatnot, you know, insert all of these descriptors. Again, it's not me taking responsibility for my own
decisions.
Yeah.
And you should never be a martyr. At the end of the day, your life has to be the most important life to you. And that's not coming from a selfish place. That's coming from you are connected to everybody that you have chosen. And so if you are operating at a lesser place, how are you going to be able to show up for anybody else?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, most definitely. And then the people around you begin to feel frustrated, like you were saying earlier, because it's like, what do you want?
Yeah. Yeah. It can become like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
You know, because you're just, especially like you were saying, you know, Dr. Jones, with stronger personalities, you know, if they're attempting to pull information out of you, it does create this really unhealthy dynamic of, because even if that person doesn't have an aggressive style, that person may have been assertive, but because your dedication to passivity can almost make them become aggressive.
yeah.
Because now they don't know what else to do. Their normal techniques, their normal way of communicating and trying to be open and democratic and all of these things are not working.
Yeah. That is true.
So insert frustration.
Yeah. And if now this is a positive for me. I will say that being around you ladies it's definitely helped me to calm down. And the reason I would say calm down and not become aggressive is because I want to be I don't want to be aggressive. You know, so I know I have a big personality. I know I can be aggressive. And even if I'm a passionate person, and so my passion can definitely look very big and overwhelming to some. And so being around you ladies have definitely helped me to calm down a little bit, because my personality can be so big. Definitely. And I know that about myself.
It's okay. It's okay.
We love a self-aware person.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's kind of
Yeah.
passivity in a nutshell.
Yeah. And I think Dr. Jones had some subcategories as well that you were telling us about. So was there one in passive?
So it was submissive, but it's very similar.
Okay.
So with submissive, the submissive style, this style is a people pleaser, pleasing other people to avoid conflict. Submissive communicators behave as if others' needs are more important.
Okay.
And others have more to contribute, so they don't want to voice what they think, believe, or feel, because they think that the other person's views or contributions or whatnot is more important.
I think that goes to value. You know, what do you value about yourself?
Yeah.
You know, if you don't think that you have anything to contribute, then, you know, there's this idea of worth that kind of comes along with that. And then again, you go back to that shrinking down, because I don't have worth, I don't have value. So what I want and what I need, or my ideas, don't mean anything.
Yeah.
You know, a prime example of that we kind of were dealing with when we first decided to do this podcast was, are we even going to call ourselves doctors?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And we were like, no, we done earned these.
Yes.
We gonna use these names.
Yeah.
And that's the form that we're coming to the listener, is from our therapeutic selves and mixed in with, you know, the personal stuff a little bit here and there. But you know I go through life sometimes and I'm like, I don't even tell people half the time that I'm doctors. Number one, because I don't ask me no psychological questions and you're not gonna pay me. But the other part of that is, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't need everybody knowing that information.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a time and a place for it. I can definitely agree with that.
Wholeheartedly.
So some of the behavior characteristics of the submissive communication style is similar to passive as well. You know, they avoid confrontation, finding difficulty in taking responsibility, feeling like a victim, and refusing compliments. That was one of the things that y'all didn't say about passive.
That's a good one.
That is a good one,
because that is common in therapy sessions. People that cannot receive a compliment, it like they skin about to just run off away from them.
So let me ask you two a question then. do you all still cringe, or do y'all cringe? Did y'all cringe? I don't know, when people gave y'all compliments.
I'm gonna be honest. I think I still suffer with that. I just make sure that my response is thank you or something of that nature. I never realized that I played down myself so much. I'm the oldest in my siblings, and I'm, take care of business type of person. So I was like, no, it's good. Like, I've always had that kind of energy and mentality. So when people are telling me a compliment, like even when we came in, Dr. Strickland was like, hey, I like your braids. Y'all got some green braids. Green's my favorite color.
They are so cute.
And I was like, I made sure I said, thank you, girl. Like, I made sure I said that, because on the inside, I just like, oh, my mama did it. Like there's no acknowledgement that a compliment was given. So I had to say, thank you, girl. And then I can say, my mama did it, and then go from there. But it's
a conscious.
Yes, I have to work on it.
Okay. I think I was very similar. I don't know if I ever, again, consciously was like, oh, that means I'm, oh gosh. But, yeah, I think I've done some stuff very similar to that. Like, oh, just, oh, well, thanks, because I'm very quick to, so like if somebody compliments an outfit, oh girl, I got this for $4. When what does
it?
Yeah, like it doesn't really matter that cost me $4, but because I even did it this weekend actually. So I bought some new pajamas this weekend, and Derek said something about them. I was like, oh yeah, I got it on clearance. And he was
that's
like,
her hubby.
That's I'm sorry. My husband's name is Derek. And he was like, okay.
It's like, why did I need that information? Leave it to a man to be like, I didn't need that.
And so when you say that, I'm like, dang. Like, there was really no reason for me to add that extra bit of information. Like I could have just, taken that he noticed, like, oh, you got some new pajamas.
Just trying to love on you.
Right. Yeah.
Trying to rub on you. No.
But I think I do that. I still do. And even with the doctor thing, it was when we opened Balance Beacon, it took a long time for me to feel comfortable saying that we owned a private practice.
I remember you
like
telling me that.
It would, like, it was almost like it couldn't even fall out of my mouth. Because I just didn't know I don't know if I felt like I didn't deserve it, or I didn't work hard for it, or I don't know what it was. I probably need to really do some self-reflecting on that. But it took probably a good at least year and a half before I felt comfortable when somebody asked me.
Yeah.
I
think we're still in a era of rebuilding as Black community, and ownership is a huge area that we have to constantly work on. So I could see how that is a struggle, because I have a business too, and I still am like, oh, that is mine, I own that. Okay, let me get my life together. But it's because we are not taught, let me rephrase that we can own things as Black people. Us growing up in the 80s, I'm just gonna say that as I look across the table.
She's trying to give me some passive aggressive shade, or some passive shade.
We really didn't see a whole bunch of like images that said that we could do things. And so us being in the generations that we are in, it's like, okay, we have to kind of knock down those things, and we have to, even though we know we can go out and get it, technically your mind is still wired the old way.
Yeah. I definitely agree with what you're saying, and not to downgrade anyone's parenting styles or anything. But I remember my father used to tell me quite often, you can do whatever you want to do. And I expect for you to do whatever you want to do. Whatever it is that you have your mindset to do, that's what I expect for you to do. So do it. And the thing is that has always stuck in my mind. And I always knew that I didn't want to work for somebody for the rest of my life. because I saw, I mean, we had this conversation before, you know, I've seen how working so hard for someone else can help benefit them, but it don't benefit me. You know, so in my mind, I'm like, no, I don't mind other people making money because I still spend money in other places and stuff like that. But I want to make my own money. I want to be in control of how much I'm gonna make. When you know, so I'm saying all that to say that's why it never.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's certain tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM.
It was never an issue for me to say that we had our own business because I was like, yep, we got it. We got our own place. We got our own practice.
Yeah.
I know, just a caveat into my own life. I became an entrepreneur at like age 10. So my grandfather, he invested into my candy store. And I was like 10 years old and he was like, okay, this is the amount of money you get. And I think it was probably $100. And he was like, I'm going to give you $100. We're going to go to Sam's and we're going to buy a whole bunch of bulk items, figure out what things you feel that the community would like, and you get a few in each category. And so I remember being super young and my grandfather teaching me entrepreneur. Okay, did you pay yourself this week? Like I'm 10. I'm like, what does that mean? What do you want your first big purchase to be? Like a reward. I was like, I want to get a double stuffed cheese pizza. Just tell you how long ago this was, because they had just came out, you know.
Okay.
So I remember that, and I have kind of always taken that experience and macro modeled my other businesses and financial things after that, because he kind of laid the groundwork for me to be able to think, okay, you don't have to stay in the 9 to 5 if you don't want to. And that's not to say that you can't. It's just like you get to make a choice. You don't have to be there.
Yeah.
That's good. Wow.
Okay. So back to submissive.
Yeah, we done went all over the place, y'all.
But y'all know y'all love it, so
yeah, y'all like when we do our little tangents. So at the end of the day, people on the receiving end of a submissive communicator, they become frustrated, and others, they resent that low energy surrounding the submissive person.
Yeah.
So it's very similar to passive.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Well, let's get off into our favorite one.
So,
aggressive people.
Yeah. So the aggressive communicators, they are easily frustrated, tend to speak in a loud or overbearing way, unwilling to compromise.
Oh, stop talking about me.
Use of criticism, humiliation, and domination. Frequently interrupts or does not listen. Disrespectful towards others. Y'all, this one like tears my nerves up because of that humiliation component. I do not like to be humiliated in any type of way. I'm like, you didn't have to talk to me like that. Now I'm gonna have to knock your teeth out. Like, it's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is well, see, okay, so I think y'all have to understand where I'm from.
She's from the mean streets of Memphis.
Yeah, I'm from Memphis, and not that I grew up in the hood or anything like that, but you know, when you grow up in Memphis, you gotta have some backbone on you.
Tennessee different, y'all. Both of our families originate. This is Dr. Wall and Dr. Jones. Both of our families originate from Tennessee, so it's a different lifestyle.
Yeah,
there.
Yeah, like you'll get punked for real. You think you walking around them streets passive, you know, and you just and granted, like I've I've come a long way. Thank you, Jesus, y'all. I have come a long way. Because when I first moved to North Carolina, I mean, like that was the first time I had ever been out of Memphis. I moved to North Carolina. I didn't trust nobody.
You was tearing people up.
I thought I was gonna have to fight everybody. Like, oh God, it was. I got friends though. I don't know how, but I did.
I saw past it.
Yeah, I guess. And then I moved to Atlanta. Yeah, I don't know. Atlanta was different too, but whatever. And then I moved here. I think I made my biggest changes when I moved here. Because when I moved here, I moved in with one of my girlfriends, and I'm going to say her name because I think she'll be okay with that. Sherry. She helped me change a whole, like, she's past, well, used to be. She's not no more. She used to be passive when I first moved. And I think we both learned from each other. Mm-hmm. She learned how to be more assertive, and I learned how to be less aggressive. Mm-hmm. Because it was one of those situations where if I had to fight in church, I was going to be fighting you in church. That's how
I believe
bad
Ooh,
it
you
was.
have come a long way.
Yeah, I have come a long way.
Wow.
Let it go.
Yes.
Like Elsa.
But yeah, aggressive people are definitely difficult to deal with as well.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, I don't think I was that type of aggressive person where I was just coming off aggressive. Like when I came out, I was like, shut up. And it's about me. Like I wasn't that person.
Yeah.
But if you got on the wrong side of me,
oh, for sure.
that's when when the aggression came out. Like I didn't try to be assertive. I didn't try to communicate.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to punch you in your throat, and you knew it.
Yeah.
So that's when the aggression came out.
Yeah.
So I guess I can, that's how I communicated, but my everyday just, chilling with me type of, it wasn't.
Oh,
that.
yeah. Well, I think that's pretty true for most people.
I think aggressive is a very self-centered, and I'm not saying that in a negative way, but it's a lot of focus on self. So you really don't have the other awareness to see how you're coming across.
Yeah.
And you have to make sure you have like people around you that are really going to hold you accountable. So you like not out there in the streets crazy.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what Sherry used to point out to me. Like, LaFanya, you can't say that.
But calm down.
Like, yes, she was like, calm down.
But you do, like Dr. Wall was just saying, you got to have people around you that are not afraid to call that kind of behavior out.
Yeah.
And do it in a way that is receptive to that person.
Right. Mm-hmm. Which is why even now in my life, that's why I say you ladies help keep me calm and have helped me to learn how to be more assertive as opposed to being aggressive when I communicate. Because one, like I said earlier, y'all allow me to say what I need to say in that aggressive tone, humiliation, whatever, and I can say it, and then after I'm finished, you
So
all right?
Can we get the other version now?
Exactly. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever.
Yeah. But I agree with you, Dr. Wall, about that lack of other awareness, just kind of in a general sense, that it doesn't allow room for anybody else.
That's true. Mm-hmm. Because their personality can overwhelm the room.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, and that ends up leaving the other person to feel like, bullied.
Yeah.
Or not heard. And that's just not going to be it's not going to be a healthy relationship, because there'll be other people that go toe to toe and love that. And
if you get two aggressive people together, I mean, they're going to have fireworks, but.
And it's so
funny.
Gonna
blow up some things.
Because once they get to their point of being more aggressive, I'm the one that's able to be like, now, okay, wait a minute. It's so weird.
Gotta have balance.
I think we've trained each other. And I think it's because we know that you off the cuff just gonna have that energy because that's just who you are. And we have to be like, okay, so let's change this word, because you can't say that to her. Like, that's not gonna go over well. But you know that something is seriously wrong with us if we have gotten to the level of that. Like, okay, you want to talk about it? And y'all, I'm notorious for being angry and crying at the same time. They have seen me on several occasions. I don't know why, blah, 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 blah. And like, it is hilarious. Like, how you this angry and crying at the same, I can see though, but it's funniness that go on in these offices.
Yeah. And it's real funny because we just said that about Dr. Strickland Wednesday, I believe, because we both are upset about a few things going on, and she kind of got to her tipping point, and I was like, so is y'all know it's a different day when I'm the calm one and she's the more aggressive. Well, I don't want to. She wasn't aggressive, but angry, I guess.
But I was ready.
Yes. As she speaks softly.
I'm telling y'all, when y'all get a passive person getting ready to be aggressive, y'all need to hold us tightly and tell us to sit down.
Batten down the hatches, as they say.
Because that's that blackout level of anger typically, and it is not a healthy place to go to.
Yeah.
It is not.
Yeah. And so that's why the good thing is we got a telephone to call Dr. Wall. And we got a car ride, a 45-minute car ride to calm Dr. Strickland down.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Yes.
And the same for me to vent.
You know, one thing that I kind of wanted to key in on was that part where you talked about criticism, that the aggressive person tends to be very critical. Because I think sometimes that can be seen, people think that they're being real.
Lies.
Right?
Real lies.
They think they're being real.
Yeah.
Or they're giving you the honest truth, or I'm just being I'm just blunt, I'm just being
sensitive.
That no, you're being
rude.
Thank you, because I was gonna say something else.
You gonna say you being an a-hole.
I was. I really do be censoring myself. Y'all gotta be proud of me. You're being a donkey behind, and I don't think that gets looked at a whole lot.
And especially in the Black culture. Like,
because we pride ourselves on
being real.
I'm like, you're not going to keep talking to me the way you talking to me. Like, me being the sensitive person that I am, I don't take that well, because I can read the energy as it's like rising up in the person. I'm like, oh, this person done lost their whole mind. And I'm going to have to get it, snatch it back in where it needs to go. But it's not healthy. I had somebody recently, we're not going to say this person's name, go tell me that they not gonna cherry pick their words. I said, well, first of all, you using that wrong. What you meant to say was nitpicking. I didn't say that. I kept it on the inside because I was like, this is not the time to be a smart aleck. But I was like, you don't get to talk to people that you choosing any kind of way.
Yeah.
Because if you feel a need to talk to them that way, why you got them?
Yeah.
Like, why do you got to take it up to that level? If I'm a sensitive, loving, empath type of person, why would you ever feel the need to talk to me crazy?
Yeah.
Right.
Because you hurting me, and you hurt me in one of my love languages. It's just too much.
Yeah. That's true.
So true.
Oh, Lord.
But a behavioral characteristic of a aggressive communicator is being abrasive.
Yes.
Demanding, abrasive, explosive, unpredictable,
Condescending.
Intimidating, and bullying.
Now, if you want to get under my skin, be condescending. Like,
who you talking to?
Yeah. Like, yeah, that's a way for me to really like go left real quick.
Yeah.
Because, we can speak to each other in a respectful way. Exactly. But if you have this air of arrogance that I'm dumb, or that I don't understand what you're saying, that is something that really gets under my skin.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. Dr. Jones, what were the subcategories for aggression?
It was passive aggressive, which was one of the which was one of the ones you said you definitely don't, and myself too, definitely don't like. Go ahead.
No, I was saying like how Michelle had said nicety.
Nice, nasty.
Nice, nasty.
Yep.
That tear my nerves up. Just be
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
Okay, give me
Be
one or the other.
Yeah. Be one or the other.
Yeah.
So a passive aggressive communicator, they act out their anger in indirect ways. They usually feel powerless and resentful. So that's when I guess that behavior come out.
Yeah.
So in their behavior characteristics, they are sarcastic and devious.
This passive aggressive always puts me in the mind of like roommates. So then like let's say one roommate don't wash the dishes or don't clean up something. So then the other roommate like leaves a sticky note and says, something real slick. Like, it would really be nice if you would, clean up behind yourself. Or they leave like a picture up or something of like a clean kitchen or something. It's something, it always puts me in the mind of, how roommates have these weird things, or like, those are my Oreos. I mean, I know you would really like to have some, but I bought those. And it's this weird, like, okay, just like
Just
you said
say
earlier,
it.
just say what you want to say.
And because the people end up on the receiving end of that end up confused, like you were leading to, angry, hurt, and resentful.
For my couples, this happens a lot with like subliminal posts on social media.
Yes.
You ain't never lied.
This whole meme culture thing. So, if you're having a problem in your relationship, all of a sudden you start posting these really funny, like very similar types of, well, have you ever been with somebody that
Don't wash the dishes.
It'll just be something real random, or, I just find it funny how.
Yeah. Because the person is going to see it.
Yeah. And then they gonna be hot, and then it's just gonna start a whole problem.
Instead of you just talking about it, communicating, and saying what needs to be said.
Use your words.
Yes. Jinx. But yeah, the passive aggressive person, ooh, man, it's really difficult because you're stuck between this, how with the passive person, you're like, come on already. But the aggressive person, you're like, well, slow down a little bit. It keeps you in this weird dynamic of you don't know how to respond. And it takes you a while, like you were saying, Dr. Jones, with confusion. It takes you a minute to kind of realize what's actually going on and that the person is being passive aggressive, like the backhanded compliment. Like, oh, that looked real cute on you. Like, wait, hold on. What you mean? That looked real cute on me. Like, oh, I wouldn't wear it, but it looked good on you.
Well, don't say nothing to me then.
Right.
Stop talking to me.
That is an example of passive aggressiveness.
Yes.
Oh, I'm working on myself. Yeah, I'm working on myself.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And then I get, did you have more to add to passive aggressive, Dr.
You
Wall?
can go on to the next. So
Okay. So we doing aggressive style? Or did we?
yeah,
Okay.
we're doing. I think you said the next one was manipulation.
Okay. I wasn't sure if we were ready for that one. Okay. So the manipulative communicator, cannot say that fast. This style is scheming and calculating. These individuals are good at influencing or controlling others to their own advantage. Now, there are other definitions for these, but I feel these were two that I thought were the main characters.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's talk about these two. Because I think when people are aggressive, they don't think about manipulative being a part of it.
Yeah.
I think people default to yelling, screaming, that when they think of aggressive communication, in your face,
The
almost,
occasional sarcasm, but not like the full blown, I'm out here, this is who I am.
Yeah.
So you definitely have to watch out for. And I always tell people who are in a relationship with someone who has this communication style, because they tend to not understand what that feels like. And so I tell them, like, if you've ever gone to a car lot to buy a car and the salesman is aggressive and you feel like you're backed into a corner, that's what it feels like.
That's a good description.
Accurate.
Yeah.
So some of their some of their behavior characteristics is their cunning, controlling of others in ways like, for example, sulking, asking indirectly for their needs to be met. And they're very self-centered. Sorry, guys, I just hit the mic. And the people around them, they feel guilty for, and that one right there, you can kind of have that mindset or picture of addiction, because the family members of addicts tend to feel guilty when they confront the addict because they've been manipulated.
Well, it put me in the mind of gaslighting. You know,
Never
that's a very manipulative / aggressive style of communicating with a person, that you are essentially trying to make this person believe that what's in their head is not true, or that they're being irrational or, you know, excessive in some way.
Yeah. No, that exactly. And then the people get frustrated, angry, and annoyed at them.
I feel you. I can't do the manipulation.
Yeah.
No.
That now, if y'all want to see me be aggressive,
Manipulate you.
That's one right there that will immediately. Well, that's not what we're gonna do, sweetie. No, and then that's the condescending. All of that's coming out.
Yeah, because it makes you feel so many different things. You have betrayal in there because, like, why would you treat me this way? You have anger, you have disrespect. Like, it's just so many things that go on. Like
disappointment.
Yeah.
And disbelief, because I'm like, you really think I don't know what you're doing?
It's so unnecessary.
Right.
It is.
Just use your words and talk to me. Like, you don't know you wanted this, then you don't need to be in any type of relationship with anybody.
Right.
And this is all, not just romantic relationships, listeners. This is like all.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I think that that's something that's promoted very heavily in our society, specifically in American society, is being loud and boisterous. You know, that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So if I'm the biggest, baddest squeaky wheel, then you're going to pay attention to me. And, you know, we don't respect people that are more mild-mannered and meek. Because even assertive people unintentionally sometimes get labeled as aggressive.
That's true. That is very true.
You know, you could be using all the nice words. You could be being very respectful and, you know, getting your needs out. But the person will still take it as if you're, you know, being a butthole.
Or in relationships, what I've heard a lot is, oh, you're just high maintenance. Or you just don't need to talk to me.
Yeah.
You don't fit. I don't fit with you. You don't fit with me. Bye.
I can't, you know, y'all should see my face right now, because I feel like I have the face of disgusted, because I can't stand.
You do.
Okay. Because I can't stand when people make that comment of being you just high maintenance. What does that mean? Then I'm high maintenance.
I don't want to do the work.
Right.
Now imagine somebody saying that to me.
You're too high maintenance, man.
At the end of the day, I'm probably the least high maintenance of the whole office.
Your expectations are just too high.
Right.
I'll be like, well,
like you want too much.
I know. Being nice is hard, y'all.
It is.
But idiot. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, but the passive aggressive person and the manipulative person, those are two, you know, they'll make you want to pull your hair out. Because it puts me in the mind of gaslighting. It makes the other person question themselves to a point of disbelief.
Yeah.
You know, that, well, do I want what I say I want? Is what I'm asking for too much? Am I being, you know, mean or rude or whatever it is? You know, we talked about victimization.
Yeah.
You know, again, the aggressive person, when they put those things out on the other individual, it keeps them from having to be responsible for caretaking the needs of the people around them.
Yep.
Yeah. And then it leaves the person, the passive person, declining in their self-worth, esteem, and confidence, because now I don't trust myself. I don't trust that I want what I want, that I think what I think, that I feel what I feel.
Yeah.
You know, and that keeps a person passive.
Yeah. And it forces the person to now only deal with the aggressive person's feelings. You know, again, the bigger the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So the more I put myself out there, then my feelings are the only ones that actually get addressed. And now I feel better, and okay. And then we just move on. But the situation is never actually fully resolved or taken care of because the other person on the other end is left out in the cold.
And see, that's one of the things that I can say about all three of us, actually. Because Dr. Strickland and I, this is Dr. Jones, and we've had, not many, but we've had some disagreements. And I know for her, like, I'll go ahead and say what I feel and think and all of that, you know, and it is what it is. And she'll say, okay, all right, so tell me why you feel that way, blah, blah, blah. Tell her. And so I know I have to give her space. But when we give her space, I try to make sure she don't forget she's got to come tell me, because I don't want her feelings and her thoughts to be forgotten, and her to feel like she can't come to me to tell me about, because I know, again, like I said earlier, my personality is out there. So, and because of her personality, of course, I definitely respect her. She respects me, and I want it to stay that way. We want it to stay, not just me. We want it to stay that way. And so we try to make sure that dynamic that she just described does not happen in our relationship. And it's in the same thing with Dr. Wall. And Dr. Wall and all of us, not just me.
Yeah, because they ask me all the time, you sure? Yes, I will tell y'all if I got a problem. I ain't got no problem with talking.
Man, communication. Jeez.
Yes. Yeah.
So then let's talk about healthy communication, you know, real quick, since we talked about all these unhealthy ways of communicating. So what is the assertive person?
Okay. So some of their characteristics are listens without interruption. And this is not to say when you with your girlfriend and y'all just get excited and y'all be talking over each other. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that you allow other people to get their views and their thoughts out. Clearly states needs and wants, willing to compromise, stands up for own rights, confident tone and body language, good eye contact. Now, the good eye contact, I always tell my clients, be mindful of the person's culture, because culturally that may not be acceptable. Like in some native indigenous people cultures, you do not stare people in their eyes because it's disrespectful, or some Asian cultures. So, you know, some of those you have to tweak.
And you have to be mindful of the age differences and the culture, because and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I remember when I was working on my master's degree, and we were working on counseling skills, and two people had to sit across from each other. And this particular set of people, one was an older black gentleman, and the other was a white woman, and he never looked her in the eyes. And when it was time for them to do their thing, they did their thing, and then the professor wanted feedback. And so the white woman was like, well, my classmate, white woman, she said, well, he never looked me in my eyes. And the professor brought that to her attention. Well, you have to remember his age and where he was brought in the era he was brought up in. He wasn't allowed to look at white women. And so she was like, oh. And so it got her. Yeah. You know, so you have to be mindful of that as well.
You got to know your audience.
Oh, I said that earlier this week to a client. You're not looking at your audience.
Yeah. I think another one of the things with assertive communication that's important is that the person who's communicating assertively is looking at both parties' needs. Not saying that either one of them is more important, but it's like an awareness. Okay, this is how this person likes to move. This is what this person likes. I know what I like. I know how I like to move. And then we kind of figure out how we mesh that together.
But you know, the unhealthiness of this world, assertive communication style is the least used communication style. And that's so unfortunate, because it's the healthiest one.
Yeah. But people default to one of the other three, you know, that we talked about.
And I don't know if it's because obviously, like I just said, I'm from Memphis, so you have to kind of adapt to your environment so that you won't continue to feel beat up on emotionally and mentally.
Yeah, swallowed by it.
So it's difficult to operate in assertive communication.
It is. And it's difficult to stay there because the people around you are not necessarily assertive communicators. We were talking a little bit earlier about, the passive person. You may be assertive, but because this person is so tied to being a passive communicator, that it then flips you over into being aggressive, because you just, I've used all of the techniques that I know how to use to speak to you in a way that in any other sense of the word would open you up to feeling comfortable and safe to say whatever it is that's bothering you, but that's not working.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I talk about this with my dog. And I know we're not talking about animals, but I've said this to my husband before. Like, when I say something very gentle and sweet to my dog, like, okay, like, don't sit there or sit or whatever. Like, he doesn't respond when I'm giving him like the sweet, gentle version. But then the second I'm like, sit, blah, 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 he responds, and it's like, well, and I think that happens a lot in human interaction. You present something to a person in a very calm, cool, collected way, very open, very engaging. And then the other person doesn't reciprocate that. And they either reciprocate with you either passively or aggressively. So then you have to go to whatever the next level is. And then you just have a breakdown from there.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to the episode we talked about boundaries, because you have to know that, okay, I'm reaching an area of the end of one of my boundaries. So I need to figure out what my choices are. And a lot of times it needs to be just go on, walk away, because it's too much happening and you ain't got time to be, coming out of pocket, wasting energy. Y'all know I'm notorious. So I don't feel like doing something. I'm not doing it. In my spirit said no. So I think that's something that we have to be mindful of as well.
Well, what I would like for you guys to do, interns, is, if you could give us examples of times where you've had situations where you've communicated and it either went well or it went totally to the left, now that you've learned a little bit more about what the different types of communication, like what have you noticed in some of your past interactions, and what would you do differently? How would you respond now, knowing like, oh man, that was passive of me. I wasn't really communicating my needs or my wants, or like, ooh, I went way over the top with that. What would you do with a situation similarly now? Yeah,
I like that.
All right, so get on our Facebook page, Instagram, or write us a review on this episode, just kind of outlining what you might do.
So to end out our session, as we've recently been doing, I have a quote from Tony Robbins. It reads, "Communication is power. Those who have mastered its effective use can change their own experience of the world and the world's experience of them. All behavior and feelings find their original roots in some form of communication."
Must be this volume control. So, okay, interns, process your notes. Be sure to catch us next session and find us on all major platforms at The Recycled Podcast.
If you're a new intern, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share.
Thanks for listening. And remember, we are shifting and reshaping our psyche through healing conversations and connections, one discussion at a time.